forget about a lot of them. And I know one of our events last year that we had on our website was a freezing fog event. How interesting is that, right? We want to talk about that, right? So I thought I would highlight, it is Severe Weather Awareness Day, right? Highlight the severe weather stuff. Because that's what we're here for, right? Not to learn about some freezing fog. So, here is our updated Tennessee tornado by county map. So pick out your county, you can figure out how many tornadoes you've had since 1950. Now, Memphis, Shelby County, the big winner, 52 tornadoes since 1950. Nashville, Davidson metro area, you can see that little cluster right there in the center of the state, right? And then you can see Chattanooga in southeast Tennessee. You can probably even pick out Knoxville, Knox County, at 15. And so a lot of those you can explain by population. There's a lot of folks, probably got more reports. And back in the day before social media, the way we got tornado reports is we would actually get newspaper clippings sent to us from all these little podunk newspapers. And if they talked about damage or talked about tornadoes, that's how we heard about tornadoes. So it's no wonder Stewart County has only had 13 tornadoes since 1950, right? The Dover Standard, or Stewart County Standard, is only what they put in their paper. But if you do look, there's one thing I do like to point out, other than Jackson, Tennessee, where Lisa Spencer's from, where I wouldn't live nor sell insurance, because of tornadoes, right? Southern Middle Tennessee. And you're looking at it, and you go east from Memphis, and you have Wayne, you got Hardin County, Wayne County, Lawrence at 37, Giles, Lincoln at 35, Franklin at 28. And if you've ever been driving through those counties, I wouldn't call them metropolitan areas, right? I wouldn't call them metropolitan areas. And I think there is a distinct, little uptick of tornado activity in southern Middle Tennessee. And so since I'm from Alabama, let's just go ahead and blame Alabama. If you don't like tornadoes, the best place to live, I think, is like Bristol, Tri-Cities area. Why do you think East Tennessee gets less tornadoes? Mountains. What do the mountains do? For the state, when do we get our most tornadoes? Well, we're coming up on that, right? Hello, tornado season. We're March 2nd. We only have, 74 more days to go for tornado season. March is our third most tornadic activity month at 17%. April is number 1 at 28%. Why is that a problem? Well, a lot of schools are doing things outdoors, activities, proms. There's a lot going on in the month of April. Everybody's got spring fever. They're ready to get out. And May is second at 20%. And like Katie said, I am expecting a baby. And you know what the best time for a meteorologist to have a baby is? Like right here. I already apologized to Larry, so. You do have a secondary severe weather season. It is November. And usually in Middle Tennessee, each year, we have some type of weather event in the fall. Or sometimes winter, like in 2015. So I wanted to at least point that out. We can get tornadoes anytime, any day of the year, but we're really getting into our big time tornado season. 74 more days. As far as time of day, any time of day, usually around sunrise is our minimum. But those of you that were around March 1st, 2017, those tornadoes all struck between 6 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. So it does happen. And what Shane was talking about, Tennessee leads the country in nighttime tornadoes at 46%. That means 46% of our tornadoes occur when it's dark. Why is that a problem? Well, you weren't going to see them coming anyway because they're probably rain wrapped around here, or you got trees or hills, but you're right, you can't see them. And do you know how many people try to see them? Everybody. As far as frequency of the different types of tornadoes, majority of our tornadoes are weak in nature, EF0, EF1s. And if you're anything like my mom hears the T word and she just loses her mind. And it's just game over. She's not recovering. She's already getting her shelter prepared. She's already probably in it, all right? That is my mom. It doesn't matter what her meteorologist daughter tells her. Brad Travis told her there was going to be tornadoes, so she needs to take shelter. 61% of our tornadoes are weak, EF0, EF1s. Those are survivable if you're not doing something that you shouldn't be doing in a tornado. They account for 6% of our fatalities. At the strong level, EF2, EF3, that accounts for 36% of our tornadoes. 51% of our fatalities. Where do you think the two places the majority of those fatalities occur? Vehicles, and where else? Mobile homes. Very good. So if you look at it, 97% of our tornadoes should be survivable, doing the right thing in a proper shelter, taking cover. Now our violent tornadoes, EF4, EF5, only make up 3% of our tornadoes. Obviously, though, they're going to make up a big chunk of our fatalities. Even though they don't occur nearly as often, they do make up a big chunk of our fatalities. And this is when we talk about big-time outbreaks, events. You know, you can think back, Super Tuesday, 2008 is the outbreak. April 27th, 2011, an outbreak. So it's not severe weather we're to say unless I throw in some safety rules because that's part of my job, and I feel like I wasn't like, preaching to the choir. But this right here, Google Maps is amazing, Street View, because this is a before picture of a house that got hit by an EF3 tornado. So say this was your house. What kind of damage would you expect from an EF3 tornado? Top layer of the house gone. What about the trees? Trees gone. Where's the safest place to be? Well, after that tornado in this house, what's going to happen? That's not going to be a fun ride. Here's another one where we had two mobile homes, EF2 damage. And I got to say that there are not too many times where I go out in the field and I look at mobile home damage and there is a good result. So EF2 completely, you can't even tell that was mobile homes. That same tornado went down the road and hit a 2-story brick home. That's what was left of it. So I feel like, sometimes you need to see the difference in the degrees of damage. EF2 on the right to a 2-story. First story is a brick part with a second floor siding. The roof's gone, an outer wall's gone, but that's expected. Whereas on the left, the picture, mobile home. All right. So last year, I think I was standing up here and I was like, oh yeah, look, there's storms. Hopefully they'll get into Kentucky soon. And last year's SWAT. And for those of you that were here, you probably remember me saying that. And for the most part, they did that afternoon except for a half mile in the state of Tennessee. And you can actually see that half mile right here. Touchdown right after we ended SWAT or right at the end of SWAT. And then later that night, we had 3 more tornadoes in the evening that impacted Clarksville and Robertson County. This was our biggest tornado event of the spring. And it just so happened to happen on SWAT last year. So that was kind of interesting. One thing that was very interesting about this tornado survey, Clarksville got really lucky. The city of Clarksville got incredibly lucky because the tornado was very cyclic in nature. It was on the ground for a few miles, lifted, reformed, came back down, on the ground a few miles, lifted, reformed, came back down. So really it was 3 different tornadoes. If that first segment and second segment had stayed together, that tornado would have gone through downtown Clarksville. And if you remember, those of you that can remember January of '99, probably would have taken a similar path to that one. So here's the radar. I got reflectivity on the left, velocity on the right, which measures wind speed. So what you're looking for, this isn't your classic supercell. This isn't going to be the big hook. These are what we call QLCS tornadoes. These are a bear. These are really, really tough to see. Luckily, the one good thing is this was close to Hopkinsville radar, so we had a fantastic view of this tornado. So, here is reflectivity, here's velocity, and we'll wait for it to restart the loop. So, tornado 1 occurs southwest of Clarksville. You see it? And then it starts lifting, there's downtown Clarksville, and redeveloping, crossing I-24, lifts, and then starts redeveloping south of Adams and touches down as the EF1 east of Adams. Now, the tornado east of Clarksville, EF2, it was one of those where it hit a really nice neighborhood. You know, one of those brand new kind of homes are still building. Homes were, 3,000 square feet, $400,000. A very, very nice neighborhood. And like I said, Google Maps is amazing. This is the before picture. And it's such a new neighborhood. There were homes actually built right here, built across the street, and we're going to concentrate on this one home right here. So, when I got a phone call that night, I talked to the emergency manager, and I was like, hey, Ronnie, how are things? We'll be up there first thing in the morning. What kind of damage did you have with this tornado? And he goes, yeah, we had some pretty good damage, moderate damage. One house looks like it was damaged heavily. The rest of it, mostly roof, window damage, that kind of thing. So that's the before picture. Right here, such a new neighborhood, they didn't even have the street view. I had to do the 3D view. Well, that next morning, when I woke up, my phone had blown up. Because it was like, oh my gosh, Chrissy, there is nothing left of this one house. It's gotta be an EF5. Well, what looks a little weird about this? That's the strongest maple tree I've ever seen. That is the front steps of the house. The house is not there. You look behind it and to the side of your neighbor's home, what do you see? Yeah, the house is on the roof. You got the roof damage, which you would expect with an EF2 tornado, right? The tree, still standing. The front door bushes, still standing. What happened? When Larry and I came on there and I was able to talk to the homeowner, they were home. And guess what? They got the warning in plenty of time, and she did the right thing. She got in the middle of her home, took shelter in I believe a closet in the middle of the home. And what she was telling me was, the house started bouncing like a trampoline, and all of a sudden everything shifted and collapsed on top of it. So incredibly lucky. That is the foundation right there. It was shifted probably 30 feet to the north. That is their house, pretty much, that landed on top of them. Incredibly lucky. So, the point of this one is, not all damage that may seem catastrophic is at EF4, EF5. That's why we go out in the field and we look at the damage, we look at how the houses are attached to the foundation, that kind of thing. And it probably did something similar to this. So I believe this was from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. This black car is like, nope, not today. And that was probably a good move. Sliding off the foundation. We see it a lot more than you probably would want to know. As I tell people, there's different degrees of how your house can be secured to your foundation. A lot of times, once you buy the house, you got no idea. You got no idea. I know with my house, I talked to the builder, I made sure, because that would probably be bad for us, right? Meteorologist house, not attached to the foundation, right? It can be to code, but could you go a little step further? It depends on how much money you want to purchase or use. November 5th and 6th, 2018, that was probably our biggest tornado event. I believe we had 9 tornadoes that day. What was unique about this event was we were getting a lot of tornado debris signatures, especially north of I-40. You heard, we're talking about that today, tornado debris signatures. And a lot of that was because of fall foliage, we noticed. Picking up all the leaves, circulating them, because it's that sensitive to pick up that stuff. So we went out and we looked for tornado damage, and a lot of times we would see a limb or a shed, and that's what we had in Hickman County and Murray County. But we went up towards like Cheatham and could not find damage at all. I think Brittany and Sam went up there, and but it had a TDS. And so we're actually doing more research about that false TDS, tornado debris signatures, based on leaves. Now that might happen maybe 2-3 weeks a year, but it's still an interesting case. South of I-40 though, a lot more instability, a lot more issues. This is what radar looked like across Middle Tennessee, and it's one of those, what? QLCS tornado events. It's a line of showers and thunderstorms with embedded rotation. And you can see how many warnings we issued with that line. As the event progressed, it was pretty obvious that the biggest tornado threat was south of I-40. And we had a few big tornadoes down south Lawrence County. Here's the one in Rutherford. And then the one coming out of Franklin County, Coffee County, into Grundy County. So in Franklin, Coffee, Grundy, it was EF2 tornado. This one was on the ground for almost 39 miles, which that's pretty long track for November. This was Grundy County. Some of the damage that we saw, this was a house built in, I believe, 1950s. The husband had a weather radio, got the warning, took shelter. Did the right thing, they survived. And their house pretty much took the brunt of that EF2 tornado. I believe this is why we rated it EF2. So this was probably close to 130, 135 miles per hour. EF1 in Loretta, Tennessee did quite a bit of damage to some sports complexes at the high school, playground area and whatnot. Concrete building destroyed, what you would expect with an EF1 tornado. A lot of messy damage down there. And then we had an EF2 in Christiana, Tennessee. This is, I think it started off in Bedford County and then moved on into Rutherford. This right here, we got to talk to this woman. She was a widow, and I think newly widowed. She hadn't slept in her bedroom since her husband had passed away. So she always fell asleep right there in a recliner. So she fell asleep watching TV, knew that there was weather, and her daughter was trying to call her, and she woke up when that window went past her arm. She was incredibly lucky, very, very lucky. I believe that hutch right here probably saved her life because it kept the wall from collapsing completely on top of her. In fact, I got to talk to her that morning. She'd been to the hospital, had like 3 stitches, and immediately went and bought lottery tickets. So she was in pretty good spirits. But here's another house, built, in the 50s, 60s, probably 50s, where it lost the roof. It lost one outer wall. And we did rate it probably the very highest EF2 rating, 135. Not quite EF3 damage. Here is the video of the house that flipped, where we did have 1 fatality on this one. And this is another case where you had, a 3,000 square foot home, and it was like something out of the movie of Twister. If you've seen that, I think everybody probably in here has seen Twister, of where they're driving the truck through the home. Most of the home stayed together. Unfortunately, it got lifted off its foundation. And like I said, there are many degrees of how you can attach your foundation. And, for me personally, I have it bolt screwed every 36, 48 inches in my crawl space, blocks filled with concrete. That's about as good as you can get on that one. So just think about that if you're ever building a house. And it's a bad day if you see me on the Weather Channel. Actually, that day, I knew it was election day. So a lot of the local TV coverage was election stuff. And I think that was the first time where I didn't have anybody in local media wanting to do an interview with me. It was all Weather Nation and Weather Channel. The next day, though, after election, they wanted to talk about it. So it's kind of funny. I was ready for them, though. Here we go. This house, very, very interesting case. And we actually have them in the audience. I know they probably don't want me pointing them out. But this home right here, the cabin part of it, built in the 1830s. And I guess it was added on in the 1850s. And then it was moved and redone in 2003. So that is the Google Street View of this home. That is the after. Another case of getting the warning, watching the weather because you know it's going to be bad, taking personal responsibility, got the warning, was upstairs, went to the first floor, took shelter. And they're here today. Took a direct hit from this EF2 tornado. Obviously, the 3rd floor roof took the brunt of this damage, but they survived. What is crazy about this house, if you're looking at the aerial view, there's where the house got moved to, and I believe after talking to the owners, that's where it was in 2003. So it's possible that if it hadn't been moved, it wouldn't have been touched by this tornado. I know. But talk about the best attitude of taking something negative and turning it into a positive on that. They're one of the best people I've ever had that I've met out in the field where they suffered damage and they were thankful. So and I'm glad that they're here today. And they're rebuilding. So it is amazing that the 1830s cabin part of it was so structurally sound. Pretty incredible. All right. Then we're going to talk about what we've had the past couple of days, or last month. Rain. I mean, I've heard of animals foretelling a storm in various ways, but never like this. I got this one, Bill. We had a lot of rain in the month of February. It was the wettest February on record in Crossville and Nashville. How did this compare to the heavy rain event December of 1926? Well, nobody in here should remember that event, So I got the data for you. And you can see it was pretty much, Middle Tennessee centric. Some on the Cumberland Plateau. Pretty close. Very rainy in December of 1926. And they ended up having some late winter floods as well. A lot of people automatically want to compare every single flood we have to 2010. And as I tell people, nothing will ever be comparable to that in my lifetime. And if it is, then I'm retiring early. So this was the Cumberland River and Nashville. And you can see that it got into minor flood. And if it's already getting into minor flood, my guess is it's going to probably continue to be a problem this spring. The Duck River at Columbia definitely had major issues. They went to major flood at almost 43 feet cresting. Harpeth River, Kingston, Perryville, major flood. So, it's not comparable to 2010, but as I tell people, if one event impacts you or one flood impacts you, that's your 2010, right? So some of the pictures, I believe this was from the YMCA at Brentwood. I believe this was in Rutherford County. And I don't think that bulldozer is going to do much, but maybe this, TDOT, coming soon, 2020, TDOT's new help truck, right? I did show it to Lewis. He's considering it. He's going to propose it next meeting. This right here, this was a neighborhood in Rutherford County that they, I believe, ended up evacuating. This is why you don't play in floodwaters. You don't know what's in it. So definitely quite a bit of flooding and impacts. We're expecting rain here next weekend. Good thing we picked SWAT this weekend, not last weekend or next weekend, this weekend. So more rain, probably more flooding. So I didn't do 10 weather events, but what I am going to do for you, meteorologist is a tough job. I think you have the broadcasters up here, and the Weather Service gets to hide a lot. You don't see us too often. You definitely don't hear from us too often unless it's social media. So that's why I wanted to do the top 10 mean weather tweets. The school closing dilemma. My goodness. We are not responsible for two things in this world. Closing schools and the sirens. All right? Y'all can stop calling our office about that. So imagine being a superintendent who has been notified that the National Weather Service is predicting snow or ice and possibly dangerous driving conditions. You are aware that thousands of school children will be riding buses and hundreds of teenagers driving. You are also aware that if nothing happens, you will be lambasted and mocked by parents and taxpayers till the end of time. What do? Do you say, I'll believe it when I see it? Or do you cancel classes? And you got like 13 weather days built in, right? Times that'd be a fatally wrong once. And that was a quote from one of our local school superintendents. I'm just glad. Bree and Katie were talking about the closer you get to an event, the better the forecast models are. Guess what? Snow amounts are going to change. Well, this snow at D-hype, then dry as a bone. Stop hyping it. Doug, what's less than a dusting with snow? That's what we got. Nada. First of all, I don't know why the Weather Service would ever hype a snow event. I don't know what we gain out of that other than mean tweets. Here's another one. I'm a teacher with 9 good snow days to burn. Hope February doesn't let. For the record, I don't want any March snowstorms. But will we get a good snow this up in the southeast? I grew up in North Alabama. People are very passionate about snow. I've never understood it. I've never seen people so disappointed by it. I always just think go north.